was a heartbreaker in triple overtime to the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 1. I was actually at this game. Second game I've been to this season. The first one was against the Minnesota Wild on Henrik Lundqvist night, and obviously the stakes were way higher in this game. But weirdly, a lot of the same sort of vibes in terms of the Rangers jump out to an amazing start as they did in that game, take a 2-0 lead. They eventually, lose that lead. There's a controversial call that goes against the Rangers. I almost feel like I think this one was probably worse than maybe, at the moment of that Minnesota game. I mean, that felt like, it was the wrong call. But either way, forgetting about that, this was a pretty classic game that obviously did not go the Rangers' way. They were really impressive to start this game. And it's interesting because I'm going to give my perspective as someone who went to the game, but I also wanted to see what the fans thought after the game. And there was a lot of things that, I agreed with. There's some things that I didn't really agree with what some of the other people thought watching on TV. But this was really a game where it seemed like at first, all right, this is a continuation of the regular season, but this is where the Penguin experience compared to the Rangers inexperience comes in, where the Rangers gave it everything they had first period and into the second. And then the second period, it all turned. And we've seen that from the Rangers this season at points. It almost reminds me a little bit, and that was to an extra degree, but post-deadline against the Devils, where amazing first, 2-0, then all of a sudden the Devils just crushed them in the second. Rangers just got out of their structure, started playing fancy, not playing the right way, and it came back to bite them. And Pittsburgh, I would say, ended up being the better team. Igor Shesterkin makes 79 saves, 83 shots by Pittsburgh. Some of the numbers in this game were crazy. This was actually the longest game ever played at the current Madison Square Garden. The last triple overtime game the Rangers played was in 2012 when Marian Gaborik got the game-winning goal in the second round against the Capitals in Washington. But Pete Stemkowski in the early 70s, he had that my dad was actually at, which is kind of crazy, a triple overtime winner for the Rangers all the way back then. So a bit of a historical night. I thought Igor was amazing. I mean, honestly, you can't blame him for any of the goals. Igor looked really, really sharp, and so that was good. But there's just so much to unpack from this game. There really, really is. So let's just jump into it. The Rangers, it was the lineup that you would expect. There's definitely players that are playing hurt, and that's just how it goes, at this time of year. But there's definitely players that are banged up. Lindgren was in and out of this game. So, like I said, Lindgren was hurt at the end of game 82, and Lindgren left the game, came back in overtime, and then he left for good later. So I think it's a pain tolerance thing, but it's not great, obviously. But yeah, there's so much to go into with this game. So I'm going to try to piece it all together. But Rangers would get their one and only power play at 8:58. And even before this, the Rangers were playing well. Keep in mind, you have Casey DeSmith for Pittsburgh. Casey DeSmith, by the way, got hurt at the end of or left the game at the end of the second overtime. So they had their third string, Louis Domingue. So the Penguins won with their third string goalie. And like I said, with Tristan Jarry, I almost feel like he was so bad against the Islanders last year that I don't know, whether are the Rangers really benefiting from Tristan Jarry being hurt? I think that's very questionable. I almost wouldn't mind if he was in there. But the Rangers do score on the power play, and it is a goal by the Long Island boy, grew up a Ranger fan, Adam Fox, who I thought was good tonight. I thought Adam Fox, who I've been a little bit hard on at times, I liked his game. Assists to Zibanejad and Kreider. So the Rangers get a power play goal to make it 1-0. And the Rangers played a great first. There was a couple of penalties. Patrick Nemeth takes a penalty at 11:27, interference call on Nemeth. It was the first of 2 penalties for Nemeth, and he is for sure a weak link. That third pair is not great with Nemeth and Schneider. I think that Justin Braun should get a look at some point. I'm just saying. And he might for Lindgren, but I think just in general, it's worth giving him a look. This guy has tons of playoff experience. I'm not saying for game 2, but at some point. And so at 18, Rangers kill it off. Then at 18:41, Ryan Lindgren is called for a roughing penalty on Rickard Rakell. This was originally called the major, a 5-minute major, but then they reviewed it and it was a 2-minute penalty, which is the right call. Raquel was definitely concussed, left the game, did not return. That could be a big loss for the so I got my towel here, as Raquel leaves the game. And I think that, that could be significant for the Penguins. He did not look great. Like, my guess is he doesn't play game 2, but we'll see. But Lindgren, look, it was a clean hit. Honestly, if Raquel wasn't on the ground, or on the ice, I should say, I don't know if that's even a penalty, but fine, 2 minutes is fair. And so it's 1-0 going into the second. Rangers outshot the Penguins 15-10, but the second period is where the Rangers completely blew it. Penguins end up with 25 shots on goal in the second period. That's completely unacceptable. But the Rangers jump out to a pretty good start in the second period, as there would be a goal by Andrew Kopp. Andrew Kopp, the trade deadline acquisition, who I thought to start this game, his timing was off. I didn't think it was an amazing game from Andrew Kopp, but he gets the goal, assisted by Ryan Strome, a really nice pass by Strome, who I thought was good. I liked Ryan Strome's game tonight, and Trouba gets the other assist at 3:08. So the Rangers make it 2-0, but I think the next shift, or the second shift after the goal, the Penguins make it 2-1. This was really key. After Shesterkin makes a great save, Jake Gensel scores from Crosby and Rust, and this line did really well. If you can shut down this Crosby line, you're going to have success, but it's Sidney Crosby still. So Jake Gensel scores, and this was a play where if I'm Jacob Trouba, who, for me, based on importance of player, and there was a lot of them, Jacob Trouba I think was the worst. I was so frustrated with Jacob Trouba. It reminded me of the Trouba that I had saw prior to this season. That player who could not handle the puck, turned it over constantly, getting his shots blocked. It was bad. And there's a lot of responsibility on Trouba. And I thought that he was awful. Terrible game by Trouba. No way around it. And I thought that Trouba on that play, just give it back to Shesterkin. Get the face-off. Although Rangers on face-offs, even though the discrepancy wasn't large, the Penguins are definitely better in the face-off department than the Rangers, which we knew, but it was a thing. But Gensel ends up scoring. He ends up being wide open in front, as Keandre Miller kind of leaves the front of the net. Really bad play by Trouba, and so nothing Igor could do on that, and it's 2-1. And at this point, the Zibanejad line did not do well. The Crosby line got the better of the Zibanejad line. I didn't think Mika played all that great. He had some moments, but Kreider, we'll talk about Kreider. He ends up getting a short end goal, but I thought Kreider was not great. Frank Vetrano was, to me, completely invisible. Frank Vetrano, that's someone, if he doesn't perform well, he should be demoted. Let's give him game 2 on that line, but if Frank Vetrano doesn't play well in game 2, then I think you got to move him down the lineup. That's just how it goes. So it's 2-1 Rangers. And then at 11:47, it's the same combination. Gensel is second from Crosby and Rust. And Crosby makes a pass through Lindgren, and Gensel makes a nice shot and scores. So Gensel, 2 goals, ties it up at 2. And then the Rangers take a penalty. It is Patrick Nemeth, another penalty at 16:32. Penguins have a power play. But the Rangers score. Just as I was saying, how Zibanejad and Kreider haven't done anything, they connect. Zibanejad gets it to Kreider, and he gets what has been this season sort of a patented breakaway backhand goal by Kreider past to Smith to give the Rangers that lead again. It's 3-2. But remember, Rangers are still on the penalty kill, and Jacob Trouba takes a boarding penalty. Again, this was a very rough game for Jacob Trouba. And on the 5-on-3, before it ends, they score. Brian Rust wide open in front. Keep in mind, at this point, I think Lindgren had left at this point for injury. You have Trouba in the box. You have Nemeth in the box. So that led to Braden Schneider being out there, which they would not want to do, and Rust was wide open in front for the easy goal to make it 3-3. The Rangers were able to kill off the rest of that penalty to Trouba, and so we go into the third 3-3. Then things start to stabilize a bit. The third period was better for the Rangers than it had been in the second, and it leads to a chance where Kakko, with about 3:30 left in the third, makes a great play, takes it to the center of the ice, and while he's down, so there's contact with Casey Smith. Brian Dumoulin was right with Kakko. Dumoulin was right with him. He pushed him as well. And Kakko, while he's on his back, makes a great pass to Chytil, who scores into the empty net to give the Rangers a 4-3 lead. But it would be reviewed and it would be overturned, no goal. Fans were upset. I was upset. Is it the worst call I've ever seen? No, definitely not. But, it was called a goal on the ice. And I think that with that in mind, was it that conclusive to overturn it? I don't know. And then I go back to this. And, I'm not this type of fan, but it's true. When you play against Pittsburgh, there is that fear, like, we're not going to get the calls. Now, I don't think that's actually a thing, but it is worthy of mention. It just is. It just happens far too frequently. Like, I don't think they're thinking in the moment, oh, it's Pittsburgh, we got it, no goal. But it's hard to deny. It's hard to deny. But that was tough. That was a huge moment in the game. And it's too bad because that kid line was good. The kid line was good, I thought. Even though they were on for the game-winning goal for Pittsburgh, he had a lot of chances. And Kakko, who, that was a very aggressive – I like that play. It's too bad that, he almost gets penalized for what was a really good play. Takes it to the net. We want to see more aggression from him, and he did that there. And it would have been nice to see Kakko and Chytil kind of be the heroes. They're young players who haven't had a moment like this, and it was taken away from them. And so that was unfortunate. So my feeling going into the overtime, it wasn't great. I wasn't all that optimistic. Lindgren comes back. I think Lindgren had returned by the end of regulation, but Lindgren would leave at some point in the second overtime. But there were chances both ways. I thought the Penguins throughout the course of the overtime were the better team. Certainly in that third overtime, Pittsburgh really took it to them. What's interesting? The long change was advantage Pittsburgh. Just think about it. The second period, so all the goals were scored on the same side of the ice. The second period and the third overtime. It's something to think about. The Rangers were better in the first, so the long change seemed to hurt the Rangers. And there were chances on both sides. I'm trying to think. There were some notable moments. There's one that comes to mind where Adam Fox kind of makes a play where I wish he shot it. It was a tough play for Strome. Wasn't ready for the pass. It was a wide open net, but I can't blame Strome on that one. I just felt like, Artemi Panarin in this game, and people were saying that they thought Panarin was playing hurt. Maybe that's true. And that harkens back to Jaromir Jagr in 2006. Different situation where he hurts his shoulder and the Rangers were done at that point. This is a different team, different time. But if Panarin, I didn't notice Panarin. I thought it was typical Panarin, just trying to be too fancy at times. He was noticeable. It wasn't like he was invisible. Whereas someone like Kreider to me was a bit invisible, which we've seen before from Kreider in postseasons, the inconsistencies. But that's just old Kreider in general. And he scored, so I can't be hard on him. But yeah, I felt like Panarin, it was a little bit all over the place and wasn't great. It's funny that fans liked Keandre Miller's game. I wasn't so enamored, and don't get me wrong, Trouba was awful. Between the two, Miller was better, and Miller made some good plays. But I thought Miller, I thought that sort of the pressure got to him a little bit at times. So it was interesting that the fans really loved Miller's game. I kind of disagreed with that. Ryan Reeves, I thought, had some, and again, expectations are low for him, had some good moments. I still think that the fourth line, it's tough. Kevin Rooney is it kind of goes under the radar, but Kevin Rooney has just not been very good. I thought he was better last season. And certainly since he's come back from injury, what has he really done? So I'm not expecting, lineup changes. I think you will see the same lineup in all likelihood, but it's something to think about. I don't know. Don't be surprised if a guy like Dryden Hunt, who I'm not saying he's the answer, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him at some point in the series. So moving forward, we get to the third overtime, and it's a shot by John Marino that's deflected by Evgeny Malkin. So Malkin gets the game-winning goal in the third overtime at 5:58 of that overtime. Just a marathon night, New York City marathon, if you will, at MSG. And that's it. Pittsburgh wins it 4-3. The third line was on for that goal. Chytil kind of leaves Malkin for some reason. I don't know why he did that. And, Schneider was kind of alone in front. And Malkin with an easy deflection. And Pittsburgh wins it 4-3. They get off to the good start. And the Rangers have to win game 2. I won't go as far as to say it's a must win, but it's damn important. It is really important the Rangers tie this series up. You do not want to go down 2-0 going to Pittsburgh. then things could get ugly potentially. But I think the Rangers, they've responded all year. This is a tough one to get up from. Really tough. But this is a team that needs playoff experience for the most part. This is a very young team that this hopefully was a learning moment. The Rangers need this. This is a new era for this team. And boy, was this a crash course in a playoff hockey game. So you hope that they can, sort of pace themselves a little bit better, not sort of go all the way. I felt like they just exerted so much in the first that they took their foot off the gas, and they need to kind of pace themselves a little bit better. And I think they can do that. And they've always responded when things have been tough. So I think that game 2 will be better. If the Rangers play this the way they did today in game 2, it may not end up well. They need to play better than they did. And, you hope that Igor can continue his mastery, because it's too bad if they won this game. I mean, that would have really been a major story. But again, a heartbreaking game. It was tough to be there. Fun, for sure. Fun atmosphere, a classic game. But the Rangers fall short 4-3 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, losing in triple overtime.